3 weeks ago, I made the worst deal of my life. I asked a stranger to pretend to be my boyfriend. At the time, it felt like the smartest decision I'd ever made. Now, standing in front of a ballroom full of powerful people, I wasn't so sure anymore. Remind me again why we're doing this, I said. Noah stood behind me, fastening a thin silver bracelet around my wrist. His hands were steady, calm, like he wasn't about to walk into a room that could destroy both of our futures. In the mirror, our reflections looked perfect together. Because if tonight goes wrong, Noah said quietly, meeting my eyes in the reflection, you lose your company. He paused for a second. And I lose mine. I exhaled slowly. Great, I muttered. No pressure. Before we walked out, I should probably explain something. My name is Emma Carter. 3 months ago, my father died. And he left me something that half the people in this building believe I don't deserve. His company, Carter Industries, wasn't just another corporation. It was the kind of company people built careers around and destroyed them over. Officially, I was the next CEO. Unofficially, the board of directors was waiting for me to fail. One mistake. That's all they needed. And, unfortunately, I'd already given them one. My ex-boyfriend Lucas. The breakup had been loud, messy, and very public. Exactly the kind of scandal investors hate. Which meant the board suddenly had a new argument. Emma Carter isn't stable enough to lead the company. My Aunt Vivian, who also happened to sit on the board, had made that point very clear. You need to look stable, she told me 2 weeks ago. Responsible and grounded. I knew exactly what she meant. She meant I needed to look like someone who had their life together. Preferably someone in a happy relationship. Which was ironic. Because 2 weeks ago, I had sworn I was done with relationships forever. And yet, here I was. Standing beside Noah Blake. A man I barely knew. A man I had asked to pretend to be in love with me. Noah adjusted the sleeve of his suit and looked at me. You're thinking too much, he said. I always think too much. Not tonight, he replied. He offered me his arm. Tonight we just act like two people who are ridiculously happy together. I hesitated. Remind me again why you agreed to this. Noah smiled slightly. Because if tonight goes well, he said, I get access to people who could save my company. And if it doesn't, he shrugged, then we both go down together. Comforting. Outside the door, the ballroom hummed with voices. Investors, board members, and journalists. People who were about to decide my future. Noah leaned closer. Relax, he said quietly. You wanted someone good at pretending. He looked directly into my eyes. You found one. I slipped my hand into his arm. The doors opened. And together, we walked into the room, smiling like we were completely in love. Everyone believed it, everyone except one person. Across the ballroom, Lucas stared at us like he'd just seen a ghost. And suddenly I realized something. Our fake relationship was about to get a lot more complicated. 2 weeks earlier, I met Noah Blake at a charity event I didn't want to attend. He was standing next to the bar, holding a glass of water instead of champagne, watching the room like he was studying it. Most people at those events were busy trying to impress each other. Noah looked like he was trying to understand them. You look like you'd rather be anywhere else, he said when I walked up beside him. I glanced at him. That obvious? A little. And you? He lifted the glass slightly. Same reason you're here. Which is survival. I almost laughed. At least he was honest. My name's Noah Blake, he said, offering his hand. I hesitated for half a second before shaking it. Emma Carter. He smiled. I know. Should I be concerned? No, he said calmly. But half the board in this room is currently debating whether you're capable of running your father's company. I crossed my arms. And what do you think? Noah studied me for a moment. I think they're waiting for you to make a mistake. I followed his gaze across the room. Lucas was there, talking to 2 investors. Watching me. It was my mistake. When I looked back at Noah, an idea had already started forming. Dangerous ideas always come quickly. Tell me something, I said. Okay. How good are you at pretending? He raised an eyebrow. Pretending what? Pretending to be someone's boyfriend. Noah stared at me for a moment. Then he laughed. That question usually comes with context. It does. I leaned slightly closer, so no one else could hear. I need people in this room to believe I'm in a stable, serious relationship. And why would they care about that? Because apparently a woman running a billion-dollar company isn't convincing unless her personal life looks perfect. Noah considered that. And what exactly do I get out of this performance? Access. He tilted his head. To what? To the people you've been watching all evening. That got his attention. I continued. Investors. Board members. The kind of people who only talk business once they feel comfortable around you. He looked at me carefully. You're offering introductions. I'm offering credibility. Noah was quiet for a few seconds. Okay, he said finally. Let's say I agree. I smiled slightly. Then we set rules. He leaned back against the bar. I'm listening. 3 months, I said. Public appearances together. Family events. Business dinners. And after 3 months, I added, we walk away. There was no drama, No complications and no real feelings. Noah nodded slowly. Those sound like reasonable rules. Then he looked directly at me. But we're missing one. And what's that? No lies between us. I thought about that for a moment. Then I nodded. Okay, deal. We shook hands. And just like that, our fake relationship began. What I didn't know then was that Noah Blake had already done something he never mentioned that night. He had looked me up weeks before we met. And meeting me at that event, that wasn't nearly as accidental as he made it seem. Our fake relationship became public 3 days later. Noah picked me up outside Carter Industries right before a board meeting. The timing was intentional. The board members arrived one by one, and when Noah stepped out of the car and casually wrapped an arm around my waist, I saw several of them slow down. Good, they were watching. Relax, Noah murmured quietly. I am relaxed. You're gripping my arm like you're about to break it. I'm committed to the performance. He chuckled. Remind me never to get on your bad side. Together we walked into the building. Inside the conference room, the reaction was exactly what I expected. Surprise and curiosity. A few raised eyebrows. My Aunt Vivian was the first to speak. Emma, she said smoothly, her polite smile never quite reaching her eyes. You didn't mention you were bringing a guest. Noah Blake, I said calmly. He's waiting for me downstairs. We have lunch after the meeting. Vivian studied me carefully. And how long have you two been seeing each other? Long enough, I replied. Across the table, one of the board members exchanged a look with another. Exactly what I wanted. Doubt replaced by curiosity. Stability replacing scandal. After the meeting ended, Noah was waiting in the lobby. How did it go? He asked. They're confused. That's good, right? It's perfect. We stepped outside together, and he offered his arm again, like it was the most natural thing in the world. I took it. From a distance, we probably looked like a very convincing couple. Too convincing, apparently. Because halfway down the street, someone called my name, and I turned. It was Lucas, of course. He walked toward us with that same confident smile he'd always used when he thought he had control of a situation. Emma, he said. Then he looked at Noah. And you are? Noah, he replied calmly, extending his hand. Lucas ignored it. Interesting, he said, glancing between us. Emma Carter moves on fast. I felt Noah's hand lightly press against my back, subtle, steady, and protective. Lucas, I said coolly, we're in the middle of something. Oh, I'm sure you are. His eyes narrowed slightly. Then he leaned closer to Noah. Careful, he said quietly. Emma has a habit of turning people into business decisions. Noah didn't react. He just smiled politely. Good thing I like business. Lucas studied him for a second longer. Then he stepped back. Good luck with that, he muttered. He walked away. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then Noah looked at me. So, he said casually. That seemed friendly. I sighed. He's part of the reason we're doing this. Your ex? Yes. Noah nodded slowly. Then we're doing a great job, he said, because he looked very uncomfortable. I started to respond, but something caught my attention. Across the street, Lucas had stopped walking, and he was watching us. He is not angry and not jealous, just curious. Like he knew something we didn't. I turned back to Noah. And for the first time since we made our deal, a strange thought crossed my mind. What if pretending wasn't the most dangerous part of this arrangement? What if the real problem was that I didn't actually know the man standing next to me? The charity gala was supposed to be our biggest performance. There were hundreds of guests, investors, board members, and journalists. If Noah and I looked convincing here, the board would stop questioning my stability. At least, that was the plan. You're nervous, Noah said quietly as we stood near the entrance of the ballroom. I'm not nervous. You checked your phone 5 times in the last minute. That's not nervous, I said. That's strategic. He smiled slightly. Right. Music drifted through the ballroom as we stepped inside together. Lights shimmered across the chandeliers. Conversations filled the air. Cameras flashed occasionally near the entrance. The moment we entered, I felt eyes turn toward us. Exactly as expected. Noah leaned closer. Remember, he murmured. Happy couple. Try to look less smug, I replied. It's impossible. We moved through the crowd, greeting people, shaking hands, answering questions. And slowly, the room started to accept the story. Emma Carter was doing fine. Emma Carter had moved on. Emma Carter was stable. Then Noah's hand found mine. Not for show. Not because someone was watching, just naturally. For a brief second, the performance didn't feel like a performance. And that was the problem. You're staring, Noah whispered. I am not. You are. I'm analyzing all. Of course you are. Before I could answer, someone stepped beside us. Lucas again. He didn't look at me. He looked directly at Noah. So, Lucas said casually, you're the new boyfriend. Noah nodded politely. That's the rumor. Lucas smiled faintly. Then he leaned a little closer to Noah, lowering his voice. Do you know who her father was? Noah didn't react. Of course, he said. Lucas tilted his head. Then you also know what happened to the companies he bought out. I felt my stomach tighten. Lucas continued quietly. Some people lost everything. Noah's expression didn't change. Lucas straightened his jacket. Just thought you should know the history of the family you're getting close to. Then he walked away. For a moment, the noise of the ballroom seemed distant. I turned slowly toward Noah. You okay? He nodded once. I'm fine, thanks. But something in his voice had changed. Later that night, after most of the guests had left, we stepped outside into the cool air. Neither of us spoke for a few seconds. Finally, I said, "What did he mean?" Noah looked at the streetlights for a moment. Then he sighed. Emma, that was the first time he had ever sounded unsure. My family used to own a company. I felt my chest tighten. And it was bought out, he said quietly, by Carter Industries. The words hung in the air between us. Years ago. I stared at him. You knew who I was when we met. He didn't answer immediately. And that silence told me everything. You knew, I repeated. Yes. The word landed like a stone. So this whole thing, I said slowly. Our deal. Our fake relationship. You planned this. No, Noah said quickly. I didn't plan this. But you were looking for a way into my world. He didn't deny it. And suddenly, our perfect arrangement didn't feel so simple anymore. Because for the first time since this started, I realized something. The man pretending to be my boyfriend might not be the only one playing a game. You knew who I was. The words came out colder than I expected. Noah didn't try to deny it. I knew your name, he said quietly. I didn't plan the rest. That's convenient. Emma? No. I cut him off. You wanted access to my world. Congratulations. You got it. For a moment he didn't speak. Then he nodded once. You're right. That hurt more than I expected. Our fake relationship ended that night. And the next morning things got worse. Much worse. By noon, every business news site was running the same headline. Carter Heiress's perfect boyfriend turns out to be fake. Photos of Noah and me were everywhere. In all articles, speculation and rumors. Inside the company, the reaction was immediate. Investors started calling. Board members demanded explanations. My carefully rebuilt image collapsed overnight. Which meant only one thing. Someone had leaked the story. And there were very few people who knew the truth. That evening, Noah showed up at my office. I know who did it, he said. I crossed my arms. Let me guess it's another part of your plan? No, he replied calmly. Your aunt. I froze. What? She pushed you to look stable. She encouraged the relationship. He slid a printed email across the desk. And then she leaked the story to the press. I read the message twice. It was Vivian, setting up a private call with a journalist, discussing Emma's staged relationship. My stomach dropped. She wanted the board to lose confidence in you, Noah said. And it worked. For a moment, the room was silent. Then I looked up at him. So what do we do? Noah smiled faintly. Well, he straightened his jacket. We could always try one last performance. The board meeting the next morning was tense. Everyone had seen the headlines. Vivian looked almost sympathetic as she addressed the room. It's unfortunate, she said smoothly. But leadership requires honesty. I stood slowly. You're right, I said. And honesty is important. I turned toward the screen behind me. Noah connected his laptop. Emails appeared on the projector. Messages, calls, and evidence. All linking Vivian to the press leak. The room erupted in whispers. Vivian's expression finally cracked. This is ridiculous, she snapped. No, I said calmly. It's the truth. By the end of the meeting, the board had removed her from her position. The crisis was over. The company was mine. Later that evening, I found Noah outside the building. So, he said, looks like you won. Looks like we both did. For a moment we stood there quietly. No more deals, I said finally. And no contracts. He smiled. Good. Because pretending was getting complicated. He laughed softly. Yeah, he said. It really was. And for the first time since all of this started, we weren't pretending anymore. A week later, my life finally felt quiet again. There were no scandals, no fake relationships, and no boardroom wars. Just work. And then one evening, as I was leaving the office, I saw Noah standing across the street, hands in his pockets, watching the building. You stalking the CEO now? I asked when I walked over. He shrugged. Just checking if she still needs a fake boyfriend. I smiled. Actually, this time I was thinking about a real one. Noah laughed softly. Well, he said, that sounds a lot more dangerous. Probably. I held out my hand. Without any contracts. He took it. And without pretending. And somehow that felt a lot scarier than the deal that started all of this. If stories like this hit you, subscribe.